he blew up the black tank. Like, we're setting other stuff up, and all of a sudden we heard this big like pop, and I'm like, and then water running, and I'm like, that's not good. Again, we've learned from our failures, and we have never done that again. And we actually learned that you can repair your black tank with Legos.
Well, okay. Explain that one, please, for the love of God. I want to know this one. Welcome to the RV Queens podcast, where adventure meets the open road. I'm your host, Charlie Grace, rolling through life 1 mile at a time, sharing stories, interviews, tips, and real talk about RV living, travel, and the freedom to chase your own version of home. Whether you're a full-time RVer, a weekend warrior, or just RV curious, you're in the right place. So buckle up, grab your favorite drink, and let's hit the road together. Hello, my RV Queen friends. Today, my awesome guest is a good friend of mine. Her name is Kelly Raber, otherwise known as the Road Rabers. Welcome, Kelly.
Hi.
This is so much fun. So, Kelly, how did we meet? Let's think about this. I think like every other story in the world, we met at maybe a campground.
I think so. I think it was Hershey
or the show. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Through some friends, and we saw your awesome rig, and I was like, oh my gosh, look at that. And then lady, you came by and you told us, you're like, oh yeah, that's mine. And I was like, James, how cool is that?
RV life is always fun because you're always making friends in campgrounds. You're walking around doing things. But you have a really interesting story, and we're gonna dive into that just a little bit because it's important to tell the world. You are a mom of how many kiddos?
I've got 3.
And
well, I don't know. I've got 4 if you count my husband. So.
And how old are they?
Our oldest is Reagan, our daughter. She's 14. Our middle son will be 10 in less than a month. And then we have an 8-year-old little boy too.
Wow. And how long have you been on the road? You were on the road full time, correct?
Full time in 2020, but we part-time for like half of 2019 too.
So I'm going to rip off this question like a Band-Aid because this is something everyone wants to know, and we'll go backwards a little bit on this too. How do you support yourself? How do you make money on the road?
So part of it, a small part of it, is James is he is a disabled veteran. So he does get some money from that. He's actually at doctor's appointments right now to try to fix his brokenness, but nothing's truly fixable. It's just about keeping him comfortable. And that's kind of part of what set us on the road is we wanted to travel, but hotels were ridiculously painful for him. Being able to take our bed and pillows and just all of our stuff with us when we travel was a huge, I don't know, I guess magnet for us to this lifestyle. Originally, we were only going to do it for a couple of years to find our permanent house because get this, I didn't want to move all the time. Military life, we move all the time. I'm like, the next house we buy is going to be my last house. I don't want to move. I don't want to pack. And now I do it every 3 weeks.
A little different though. You get to keep your own bed though. This is the nice thing. I get this.
I don't have to pack everything. But that always makes me laugh that was part of why we started traveling to find a house was because I didn't want to move again. So anyways, I got off topic. His disability is part of it. And then we co-work on Road Rabers together, which we do content creation, UGC, videography, photography, all that kind of stuff with. And then I also own my own business running social media for different companies and brands and stuff like that.
That's a lot to do. I can't. I know you, and I know you are super busy, which is I get it. They always say give things to the busiest people because how do you like schedule your time? Are you a time box kind of person? How do you calendar, or do you just fly by the seat of your pants?
I try really hard to time box, but honestly, I think my life got a lot easier when I let that go away. I fit it where it works. And since we're always moving and we've got the kids, no day is the same in the trailer. And especially since we move as often as we do, every place, there's like things we want to see, places we want to go. And so the regularity of life is a regularity for us. We do try not to do things on the weekend. One, that's when everybody else is, and I have the flexibility to go do things whenever I want. So I can avoid crowds, which usually means I can do more, see more. And that's also twofold because that helps with James's anxiety being in crowds and stuff too. So if we can lessen that, that's great. I think probably the last 4 months, we haven't been able to avoid it because everything's closed during the week. So we have no choice. Again, with the irregularity. So I work a lot at night. Usually we'll make dinner. We might have like some family time, and probably twice a week we have like just family time after dinner. But then the other days of the week, I'll come into my office. Welcome to it. It's also known as my bedroom. And kind of shut the door and just get what I need to done.
Yeah, it's nice to have space. We talked about having a space to go and work these things. I mean, right now I'm off the road for a little bit. I'm in my little office studio room, which is fun, get all my stuff done. But when I'm on the road, I have a very small space. I mean, you guys have what kind of RV do you own right now?
We have a fifth wheel. It's 35 feet.
35 feet, okay. But 35 feet with 5 people. Five people. 5 people, okay. And carving out time and space to do these kind of things, to work on the road. I mean, how are you doing like the tag team of like homeschooling or road schooling, or how are you doing that? Does James take that on?
We kind of tag team it, and we believe a lot in a little bit of an older method where the kids help each other. And when we're also on the road, if we're around other families, the kids will get together and they'll do school with their friends. And even though they might not be using the same program or learning the same thing, there seems to always be someone that can help. And if not, then there's a parent that might know better too. So we use Mia Academy. We changed to that about a year ago, and it took so much off my plate. It made my life so much easier. I can go in and I can schedule things. I can say how much I want their workload to be. And we communicate a lot with the kids. Actually, like 2 weeks ago, we changed how they do it. They were doing almost every subject every day. And they asked if they could change the way that was. And they felt like it was easier for them to do all of their math on one day, all of their English on another day. And so we figured out what day works best for each of them. And some subjects they might double up on one day. It just depends on how much is assigned to them and also which ones they struggle with. So our youngest struggles with his English and reading. So he actually has 2 days of that. And then he loads a bunch on the other days of the week. And then they actually have Fridays off as long as they finished everything that they were assigned Monday through Thursday. Otherwise, Friday is catch up. They can do extra or whatever they couldn't finish or what they struggled with. And they do a lot of that on their own. And then James and I both kind of are there to help when they need it and kind of just take a back seat and really let them be in charge of their learning. Before we switched to Mia Academy, we did a lot of what do they call unschooling, where it's very free-flowing. And for us, it was really important to kind of unschool and deschool ourselves and the expectations that we had that were drilled into us from our education. And I think that helped the kids learn a lot of how to like work through that. And they do make mistakes. Our daughter just finished, or she's finishing her photography class this week. It was 12 weeks long. And the first 10 weeks, she did like 2 things. And so she's had to cram 10 other weeks in this last 2 weeks. And I think she's learned her lesson. We'll find out. But we like to let them learn those actions and consequences, and because that's real life. If I miss a deadline, that's on me, and nobody else is going to like give me an extra extension. I've got to cram and make it fit. But we try not to set them up for failure, and we encourage them and help them, but we really try to put it in their hands as much as whatever age they are can handle.
That's a hard lesson. I gotta say, they say you learn more from failures than you do successes, but as a parent, you want to see them succeed. And we know success begets success, but they're lessons we have to learn. And I tell my kids, I've got kids in 20s now, that I'd rather have them fail really hard in their 20s than in their 40s and 50s and other things. So there's a whole way of looking at this that I think what you're doing is fantastic. So that's really cool. I think that's a great way of doing it because, they do. They need to learn things, and sometimes motivation's tough. And I have special needs kiddos. I have a whole rainbow of kiddos, and having kids that are maybe a little more hyper, a little more intelligent, a little more, I don't say normie, because that's not really a nice thing to say. But, I'd say, the average, when you've got kids going at different excitement levels and you're able to recognize that, that's amazing as a mom and as a parent and as an educator. So like you said, you've got one that might do better. I like how you change the flow, so that might help them a little bit better. And then the same thing is, when they struggle with something, giving them a little break, because that's tough. And you would not get that in a public school system at all. So that's a really cool thing that you're doing for them. Go mom. Woohoo.
I did something right.
And the other thing, I'm going to bring it back to failures for a second, and I'll tell you why. Because I think when a lot of us started this lifestyle, and it's truly a lifestyle, we made a lot of failures. We learned a lot of stuff early, especially that first year. I mean, I know how many years I've been doing this. Looking back on it, I don't want to say, give me some of your failures, but what are some ones that hit pretty hard at home that you learned really quickly?
Don't walk away when you're flushing your black tank. Poop happens, and we've actually had 2 accidents. The second time we didn't walk away from it, but we didn't realize that we were filling the black tank and not the fresh tank. James always has a way that he has all his things set. He's in charge of setting up water. So he has them all in a certain way, and he has this whole fancy extra hoses and stuff. It works for him, and that's great. We were rushing to set up and didn't check that everything was the way it was supposed to be. So we actually, and this was only less than a year ago now, he blew up the black tank. We're setting other stuff up, and all of a sudden we heard this big pop, and I'm like, and then water running, and I'm like, that's not good. It still sucked, but luckily, I guess, it didn't explode into the trailer through the toilet. It all went in the underbelly. Again, we've learned from our failures, and we have never done that again. And we actually learned that you can repair your black tank with Legos.
Well, okay. Explain that one, please, for the love of God. I want to know this one.
I don't remember what the substance is, but it comes in a big jug. James is going to make fun of me when he listens to this, but it comes in a big jug you would buy acetone or paint thinner. I can't remember what it is, but it melts plastic. And Legos are made of the same plastic as our tanks are. And so he cleaned up the tanks. It had split in 2 parts. One part is a tub almost, and it's got wings on the side, and then there's just a flat top on top. So he cleaned it up real good, and then the wing and the flat top, he just melted a Lego with that substance and put it between it, and that was the glue to hold it together. And it's been holding for 9 months.
That is amazing. I'm going to put that on my Lego list of things I didn't know, because I just got done going to a Lego event and going, I had no idea. Now I know. There's even more things to do with Legos.
Our kids were a little upset that we borrowed a Lego. So I owe them I had them pick the piece that they use the least, but I owe them I don't know, it's an 8x1 or something like that. So
it's okay. Well, we can work on that one. I love this. Oh geez. If I come down to Florida and we go to Disney Springs, we got to go to the Lego store, and we're going to buy repair kits for all our RV friends of Legos. That's what we're doing.
Welcome to the RV lifestyle. Here's a box of Legos.
If you could tell yourself something now that you know what you know, and we'll get into sort of the finances, because you guys are really open and honest about not just your budget, but your expenses. And that's one of the things I love about now. You guys are on Instagram, you're on TikTok. What all are you on these days?
Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. And I'm dabbling in Pinterest, but it's kind of doing this.
I get it. I totally get it. It's a lot when you're on all those platforms. But one of the things I love is, like I said, you guys are really open and honest about your, what you spent and stuff. So what is your most expensive item every month?
Probably consistently expensive has got to be food. So, and if we're talking like overview, we do on our page, we talk a lot about RV specific expenses, and we've been getting a lot of feedback on that. People want to know the whole shebang. So you're going to see all my dirty details of what I spend money on, because apparently that's what you want. But yeah, food, and especially on the road, food is so hard because you might find good deals on produce this week because wherever you were located, but next week you're not. Eggs were actually a really good example. We were in just outside of Albany, New York, and we were finding eggs on the side of the road. There, like, everybody sold eggs in Albany for like $2 or $3 a dozen. It was amazing. I was like, buy all the eggs. And we eat at least a dozen eggs a day between the five of us.
Oh, I understand. We eat 5 a day. Totally get it. Okay.
And then we were there for 2 weeks, and then we moved up to Vermont. And I was like, oh, yay, there's tons of little food stands. I'm going to buy eggs again. Eggs were $8 a dozen.
Ooh, fancy chickens.
That's probably one of the greatest examples. And it's not like we drove like across the country. Yes, different states, but like very similar areas and totally wildly different prices and food. So that's one of the hardest things that we can't control. And in a sticks and bricks, we used to, like Dave Ramsey, like, this was my budget. I had this much money per week, and that's all I got to spend on food. And I can't do that in an RV because I just never know what it's going to cost.
And the storage, and just the store. I mean, the bulk, we can't buy in bulk. I mean, I know you have a little more space, but I really struggle with that because I'm like, even toilet tissue, which sounds crazy. Like when I'm here back in, hometown kind of thing, I went with, let's say I just went with my oldest child. We buy for everybody. We essentially buy for the whole family. We get all the meat, all of this, go to Costco. And I'm just like in awe. I'm like, oh, like, look at all this stuff we can get. It's really hard. And I don't want to say, but let's just say it was up there. It was more than a car payment. I spent more than a car payment on just food for a week. Food for a week for essentially 8 people. And you're like, oh my gosh, it is exorbitantly expensive. So I think food is one of those hot ticket items. And I know, I'm trying to think, one of our other friends sort of got me into going to Aldi's a little bit, checking out some different things. So are there places you should, because I'm a farmer's market girl too, I'm totally down with you, but are there other places that you go, ooh, when I travel, I'm going to go shop there?
We do. We have favorite grocery stores in all parts of the country. We actually do still shop in bulk for some things. Even though we only have a 35-foot RV, it has, one of the things we liked is it had a lot of space that was unwasted. And James has actually taken down some walls to give us extra storage space so that we can buy toilet paper and paper towels at like Costco or Sam's in bulk. And we love Aldi wherever we can find that. In Texas, we shop at H-E-B. In the Southwest, we shop at Fry's Marketplace. Each different area seems to have a grocery store that we prefer over others. And I actually, one of my hacks is I have a junk email that I sign up for every grocery store app, all of those things, whatever I can do to clip coupons or have savings. But I have it all go to just one email that's not my regular, so I don't get overloaded. And I sign up everywhere we go. And then when we leave that area, I delete the app from my phone and I'll just re-download it later on down the road. So we try to maximize those savings.
It's really hard to get, because they all want an email address. I did the same thing. Do you remember back, I'm going to share my age here. You asked for it, you got it. Like Toyota, it was like a Toyota commercial back in the day and they jump up and down. So I literally got, you asked for it, you got it at gmail.com. You asked for it, you got it. And then they look at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, nope, that's all my, retail. It's sort of funny, but it's true. It's a thing. And there's a lot to be said for that because I have, gas station signups and grocery store signups. And I'm a penny pincher. I'm a thrifty person. I'm still one of those. The 11th commandment is thou shalt not pay retail. Anytime I can save or, get a little more on there, I'm all about it because right now times are tight and I don't see them getting any better. I think that we've come into a situation currently, I'm talking in the United States, for those out there who are listening, where we overcame the COVID era, but the prices didn't go down. And a lot of people's salaries and jobs did not match the new prices of what were out there. And we talked about eggs just a minute ago. I was this close to saying, who's on the RV chicken train with me? Because I want to get some chickens.
I totally went chickens. And actually, I have a Google map that I mark where we find good eggs. So if I go back to that area, I can find the cheap eggs or just like what's roadside stand I can get them at.
Well, I'm ready to sell all my RV campground owners who own RV campgrounds to get some chickens. Because if you had farm fresh eggs, there's a lot of RV campers who would buy them. Just putting it out there, people. So all my friends who are buying campgrounds and thinking about ways to improve. Yes, we live a lazy river, but we also like farm fresh eggs.
Just have chickens, and then the kids can go and feed the chickens, and
it's a win-win.
We had chickens before we hit the road, and we love them. They're entertaining.
I'm going back. I digress. Since we started on the money thing, what's one thing you could tell yourself, knowing what you know now, if you could tell yourself before you started this journey? What would you say?
For us, and this won't apply to everybody because everybody lives differently, but for us, we didn't need the big rig to start. We downsized after 2 years on the road. We were in a 42-foot fifth wheel. It had 5 slides, and we have a 35-footer with 2 slides now. I wish it was like 36 with 3 slides, but I'm still glad to be in the smaller one versus the big one, because for us, we love spending our time outside. The kids play outside. They want to be at the park. They want to be playing with their friends. And I really didn't need all of that inside space. So I really wish that I just wish I knew that. But I was coming from a 2,300 square foot house, and 450 square feet sounded claustrophobic. It really wasn't necessary. And if I think about our life, even in the 2,300 square foot house, the kids all slept in our room with us. We had a huge bedroom, and when we hit the road, our youngest was 2. So he was still very little. And then our middle was 3. And so their beds were just on the floor in our room. They all had like their own corner, but they were still waking up in the middle of the night, having nightmares and like all that kind of stuff. And so it's just easier to have them in our room with us instead of, going from room to room and not sleeping all night.
Whatever gets you through the night.
Exactly. And so like if I had really thought about how much of our house we actually used, it was probably about what our first rig was.
You don't even want to know how many square feet I started with, and da-da-da-da-da-da. And when looking for I call it my nursing home house. They're going to take me to the nursing home out this house kind of thing. I very politely said, I don't need a lot. Small house, small bills. If a roof leaks, it's a small bill. There's certain things, no matter what, you're going to get a refrigerator or a stove. I get that kind of stuff. But, like a smaller HVAC unit, smaller utility bills, whatever it might be. And, that's just the way I looked at it. I still have kids that are, I won't say at home, but, we're all learning how to adult at the same time. And nobody wanted to leave home. So I wanted to leave home. They didn't want to leave home. So I had to come up with a plan for that one. But, I often think about what would I have told myself back then? Because I too went through the whole, I need a big one, I need a small one. Like, what do I need? And I'm on my 4th RV since 2016, 2017, something like that. That's a lot because things change. Lifestyle changes, families change, where you want to go changes. And based upon the size rig that you have, there's certain places you can and can't fit into.
That was a big reason why we went smaller. Not only just because we weren't using a lot of the space, but we wanted to camp in a lot of national parks and state parks. And I feel like a lot of them are making room for larger rigs because I feel that's just where RV life is right now. I think I saw a rig debuting that was like almost 50 feet long, and my brain doesn't know what to do with that. But more and more of the rigs I feel like are getting bigger and bigger, or you've got like the small ones like yours, but there's not a lot of in between. And we went from going, I think with our 42-foot rig, we could fit in 7% of national parks. And going to our 35 feet, that increased to like 70% or something ridiculous.
And that's if you could get the site. That's the bigger problem. Like there's some that they're there, but who knows how long it took them to get that site reserved. And I think that's the one kicker with campgrounds. And that's why I want to talk to you about this, because this is really important. Everybody needs to know this, because they're going to say, I want to go full time. I want to do this, How are these people getting these campgrounds? What is your hack? Because I know trip planning for me is exhausting. It really is a mental stress that people don't talk about. It's that I sat here, I literally have from January to March planned, and it took me 3 weeks to do it.
Plan at least a year in advance. Now, that's not to say what I've planned for a year from now is actually going to be what happens, but I try to have a general idea of where I'm going to go. We usually try to pick an area for summer, which is usually up north because I want to be where the weather is nice. And then same with the winter is we pick somewhere down south for winter. And then we kind of fill in the blanks in between. We are serial membershipers for the most part. We try, because for us, that's a huge money saving for us, is to have these memberships and use them to their max, because then there's more money in our pockets to explore things, do things, pay $8 for eggs or whatever else needs to happen. We were gifted a membership when we bought our first rig, and we didn't use it until the last month that it was valid. And then COVID hit, and we were actually in 1,000 Trails campground when COVID hit. And I don't know if all of the 1,000 Trails campgrounds did this, but the one we were at was great, and they just kept extending us. Our membership only allowed 2 weeks, and we were there for 72 days. They didn't charge us a penny extra. And so we actually upgraded our membership while we were there so that we could do more and go more places with their membership. So we try to maximize our use of 1,000 Trails as much as possible because of the savings. And campgrounds are so much more expensive now than they were when we started. I remember we stayed at a KOA for like $20 a night when we first started, and it was expensive. I was like, I don't know if I can afford to go to KOAs. And now I don't think you can find one under like $70 a night. Depends on the area.
I'm a fan of even alternative, I'll call it urban boondocking, suburban boondocking. Even if you participate in RV overnights or Harvest Hosts, they expect you to do a $30 donation or purchase to that business so that you can spend the night there. So no matter what, even if you are participating in these quote unquote, we'll get you a list of free campsites, you're still obligated to participate and pay. So I can't find anything under $30 a night these days. That's where I'm setting the bar right now. If you at hip camp every once in a while, but yeah, $30 is the minimum.
I understand that where you are changes, but that is one of the hardest things to navigate. And that's where 1,000 Trails has helped us a lot. And that's not all we stay at, but we try to stay in their campgrounds when we can. Some of them are very rustic. And if you are used to lazy rivers and margaritas and stuff like that, then that might not be the campground for you. But for us, it's worked because there's usually a lot of kids, and that our kids enjoy connecting with other people. And we're honestly not at our campsite a whole lot usually. We really like to go and explore the area and go hiking and do all that kind of stuff. So just like when we used to go on vacation before we had a trailer, I usually didn't spend a whole lot in a hotel because I'm not at the hotel. I'm not going, if we went to Disneyland for vacation or if we went to Niagara Falls for vacation, I'm going to Niagara Falls. I'm not going to the hotel that I'm staying at.
I have a land yacht situation. I have the opposite situation. My whole house follows me wherever I go. So it's a little different because I have a dog. And it's true. I mean, you just sit there and you go, everything I do, go to the grocery store, my house goes with me. I go here, my house goes with me. So it's a little different when you have that perspective. And to me, and I'm a 1,000 Trails member too, and I'm a huge fan, by the way. Very big. A few years ago, I went back and forth, and I'm like, there's no better deal on the road as far as I'm concerned. But we'll drop a link somewhere you guys can look at later at your leisure. But for me, 1,000 Trails for me is a place to relax because I'm hooked up to electric and water. I can get some work done. It's normally within some kind of cell signal of some sort, and I still have Starlink. But there's also friends, and I can relax, and I can say hi to friends, and I can do that kind of thing. And I travel based on my dog. If my dog's not happy, it's a disaster. And normally I'm coming from an event And I'll use like Tampa RV Show, for example. I mean, like I'm going to Tampa RV Show, the Florida RV Super Show, otherwise known as the Tampa RV Show. Got to call it correctly. Everybody else calls it. We call it Tampa RV Show. Anyways, but a couple weeks after that, I'll be going to 1,000 Trails in Florida to relax and hang out with friends and just regroup a little bit. And that's what it does for me. So it's a little different. Although I love being out in nature, I love doing all that stuff. When I can find that place to plug in and just don't have to worry about anything, I almost feel like I'm back in a house as far as I'm concerned, because I've got water and all those other kind of things.
Right.
It's a little, when you're a boondocker like me, it's a big difference. I mean, it's a huge difference. You start looking for things. So yeah,
we're doing more boondocking now. We finally have like our electric. We were struggling with our batteries, so we upgraded batteries and wiring and all this stuff. It was all James, and he's loved doing it, but it's allowed us to be able to do more of that again. And so we're excited about that. We actually did a lot on our haul south this year, much more than we have. And that was another reason why we stayed in 1,000 Trails a lot, is because we didn't have the ability to boondock. So having that electric hookup was really important. And then the other thing is we stay in 1,000 Trails as much as we can to save money, so that when we want to go somewhere that we have to pay out of pocket or something like that, or they just don't have campgrounds there, that it's just more affordable for us. It kind of helps offset the cost.
But yeah, it's interesting when you start looking around traveling. And I know on my list, I want to go to Pacific Northwest. I'm going to go way up to the Northeast. And those are my two areas I haven't really delved into much. And I keep looking to see when I'm going to go. So I ask all my 1,000 Trails friends, like, okay, so where did you stay? Because we'll talk. We'll discuss it. And there's a planning situation. Like I said, the planning does take time. So you have to figure out what you want to do. And I think you're very, very smart. And like you said, doing things during the weekdays. Because if you have that ability, it's not as busy on the weekends. You can enjoy, you have a little more space to do things and less people. So once again, Road Rabers, rocking it. You guys have like the coolest, first you have the coolest name. You got a really cool rig. I know your family, they're pretty cool too. So I just appreciate you being here, Kelly. This is fantastic, and dropping some pearls of wisdom on us. I'm going to let you have the last word though, and let people know where to find you and what's going on with you. What's the latest when we can find you on Instagram?
Oh yeah. So we actually have a website too. Just depending, I know everybody has like their own favorite platforms, and some people don't like any of them. But we do have a website. It's just www.roadrabers.com. And you can find all of our socials from there. But we are on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. And if you just search Road Rabers, all one word, you'll find us on any of those. And we are on Pinterest, but don't judge me by what that looks like.
The absolute cutest children. They're all little blondies. It's absolutely, I love it. I love it. So thank you, Kelly. And thank you, Queens, for listening. You guys want to learn more about RV Queens? Do me a favor and go check out our website. You can go to rvqueenspodcast.com and you can learn more about the podcast. You can also be part of our RV Queens circles. We'd love to have you be part of our circles. And it's women supporting women. Thanks for tuning into the RV Queens podcast. I hope you found inspiration for your next adventure, on or off the road. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with us on social media at RV Queens Community for behind-the-scenes stories and travel tips. Until next time, keep your wheels turning and your spirit wild. We'll see you down the road.